cell had invaded the boundaries of another. Both the invader and the provincial cell were in possession of only one-half the necessary information to complete a code. Lucifer originally belonged to the Order of Light that had always been, long before the creation of humanity. An event in time established a division in that order that would continue always. So that event is a line that bisects eternity, and Mr. Jordan now lives on one side of that line. The older Mr. Jordan does not appear. He is the involuntary author of this narrative, which was extracted through interpretation of a reverse playback of recordings of his voice in telephone messages. A secret communication, as it were, from his all-knowing subconscious mind. Mr. Jordan is represented by an attorney. The younger Mr. Jordan is called Lucifer, the light bearer, a castaway and ruler of hell, also called El Pobre Cancionero in domestic matters. A young Pentecostal Christian woman is concerned about Mr. Jordan's spiritual condition. Janet, Lucifer's first wife, is a woman of exceptional eyesight. A blind woman called Sex describes Lucifer's visions as she sees them by pressing her fingers into her eyes. This woman also has the habit of drawing up from hell groups of people which provide motion, heat, and energy to drive the story and prevent its total collapse. Among those which ascend are a cult group of Pentecostal worshippers. Terror Joy is a fish in a chemical waste pond who leads Mr. Jordan to a point of transition where he meets and then becomes a man with a wheel on his head. Mr. Jordan is suffering from a spinal injury. Shot of close activity in flames on the surface of a bombarding table in a neon factory brackets the above introduction of persons. Pull back and upward to a high platform on which a young woman is standing. She looks directly into the camera and delivers the beginning of a monologue.
Mejor situada. ¿Y quién es? Pero, Luche. No seas un tortugo. Tú eres un tortugo, leche, despacio y completamente rápido al mismo tiempo. Puedo, no sé exacto. Yo no quiero ver estos, ¿no? Sí. Abruptar. Luche, venir aquí. Ven aquí. Yo te quiero. Yo te quiero, Luche. ¡Luche!
Knowledge is still a magic lamp. A little knowledge is a dangerous thing, as they say. At his current rate of progress, it will take about an eternity to achieve a complete and useful body of understanding. And nothing can be useful until it is modified. So, Mr. Jordan is a problem. God used their motion to make the world spin and to generate cyclones and build cities and destroy cities with earthquakes. To glide silently, effortlessly into lifeless, eternal, renewable space. In and out of tunnels, cut pathless wood where shrieking harpies sit among withered trees, which enclose the souls of suicides. Harpies, an image of the will to destruction, have the body of a bird, long claws, and the face of a woman pale with hunger. In this wood, the shades are deprived of the semblance of human form. Pounded their trunks against the earth, the valley, their voices across the timber.
Pounded their trunks against the earth, the valley, their voices across the timber. Continuous moaning and a pounding in my own heart and a ringing of the sun. The night falls cold and clear in circumstances and occasions and always. Their presence was the crashing of branches made in their departure. Lightless, the two halves are not supposed to meet. And now we come to specifics. Not safe to cross. Collapse.
Sometimes I just don't want to fight it. I just give in.
It's impossible to be happy all of the time. No one can be happy all of the time.
I just get sick of trying to think in the right way all the time. Of trying to see the beauty in all things ugly and the joy. You know, sometimes people are ugly and no matter how hard you try, you can only hate them for it.
It's not their ugliness you hate. It's just your frustration that you can't see past it.
You're saying I'm upset with myself?
I'm saying that you're looking for only one kind of beauty and you aren't going to find it.
No. I engage them in conversation and I'm still disgusted.
Maybe the beauty of the conversation is your disgust.
Maybe, but I don't think so.
Sometimes, when I'm driving on the expressway late at night next to a large truck, I look over at the large tires spinning level with my face, and I'm thinking how one quick turn of the wheel would do it, would crush me under the weight of those big wheels, and in an instant I would know exactly how it feels for all of my bones to shatter. I think maybe that's beauty. I'm not talking about suicide. Accidents are part of life, with automobiles and big trucks. But maybe someone who was in one of those accidents thought just as I do, but simply acted at the right moment.
Where do you stop?
Everything is part of your life.
My job is to figure out why things go the way they go. My job is to see things clearly. I can take apart anything and analyze its components. My job is not to like everything. My gift, if I have one, has been to see, even on a microscopic level, the subtle destruction that others overlook. The smallest demise, molecule by molecule. The simplest stress. But that's how things work, and without redemption from me, these things will still operate. A plane still crashes without me observing the beautiful motion of it cartwheeling down the runway and exploding. Beauty in comparison with tragedy is always insignificant. It's a mockery that only serves to underline the pain that other people suffer. Every day I stick myself with these tiny dull pins to remind myself that so far I'm pretty lucky.
Mr. Jordan has filled out a questionnaire, which has been attached as exhibit number 7 to his deposition. In this way, God made Lucifer crazy, and then burdened him with the responsibility of creating the world through his own senses. This world for him was for the purpose of choice, a wheel on his head, all too easily seduced, longing and lusting for, and not having to search for anything in heaven. He cannot move in any direction. He had questions about the life, and started here. How could the world be considered a shadow of heaven, when heaven was a place of no potential? The rules of existence that acted in his own life he knew to be universal in scope, and so he had the key, God's own process. Any potential being, such as himself, was at any point in time limited, yet held all possibility over time, infinitely superior to any perfect steady-state being, including God in heaven, as long as he continued to change. Lust and longing were the drivers, and pain the product of this process of realization. Armed with this knowledge, he willfully submitted his life to what amounted to an eternal experiment, which could never be fully understood or completed. And so he left heaven without regret. He could never lie with a woman without feeling this incompletion. In fact, this is when he felt saddest, knowing that unity is never possible, and the act of love just served to emphasize his position of imbalance. On the other hand, he never felt more sure of his mission than in these cases, where human love opened a window for him. Even though God made him insane, he still loved God over everything, and felt their partnership in all acts. Motion was always important, so he took a trip. The tolling of a large bell. Plates of glass shatter into thousands of pieces that are whirled away by the wind. A swarming of insects. Crystalline islands and promontories. Promontories? Personified water, mud, or sludge. All chemical possibilities. She needed attention, and she wasn't getting it. She was standing right in front of it without recognition.
Why do you do that? Why are we even together? I don't understand it. Can't you please, give me a sign, give me a clue? Demasiado, es completamente la hostia. And I don't understand why I even care. And you are ending up the same way. You don't understand. Do you understand me? No. Fine. As usual. Why don't you take some of your food? Are you in a depression? Are you tired? What's wrong with you?
Are you upset?
No.
I'd better go. There are things I need to be doing.
Stay. I'd like to talk to you. I'm sorry, sometimes I just get tired. I just can't fight it.
Nobody can be happy all of the time. It's impossible to be happy all of the time.
I get sick of trying to think in the right way all the time. Of trying to see the beauty in all things ugly and the joy. You know, sometimes people are ugly, and no matter how hard you try, you can only hate them for it.
It's not their ugliness you hate. It's just your frustration that you can't see past it.
You're saying I'm upset with myself?
Well, I'm saying you're only looking for one kind of beauty, and you aren't finding it. He thought, is it true? And did it just slip by without his noticing? Was he on a train to Dallas? He said yes, I suppose, and found himself longing for big food, Italian Cadillacs, eternal women, and curses of money. It was exactly this discomfort that reminded him of how other people really suffer. He sticks himself with these tiny, dull pins and tells himself that yes, he is truly lucky. Molecule by molecule, she claimed that he didn't love her anymore. Ella la empugió la mano grosera, rechazante. Termine las palabras. Sex has no language of her own, is an angel of the old order, and lacks in nothing but chance. ICBM. Seen through flames with guardian Puto. She is a blind woman in relaxed thought that precedes sleep. Woman walks across street with dog. Poem 1. Prayers for the drowning. Dog leads woman across the street. The first holy day of the new Sunday. Woman is walked across the street by her expensive seeing eye dog. The woman lotions her hands as she is taken across the street by her faithful dog. Step 21 begins with an introduction to the mysteries of the drowning. Drowning is really quite pleasant when relaxed. No thrashing. She falls asleep. Her spine relaxes. She floats. The feeling of ecstasy as she begins to breathe water. Woman is sleeping now and begins to have mild convulsions, the kind that often occur at the beginning of sleep. Now there is a dream image as follows. Shot from behind a group of Pentecostals in ecstasy with their backs snapping. Now a long take of an elevator through flames. Elevator is descending. The elevator reaches the bottom, and now there are close shots of crying, shouting, snapping, ecstatic or horrific expressions on the faces of the Pentecostals in motion. In a certain town, there were 4 Brahmins who lived as the best of friends. And, being stricken with utter poverty, they took counsel together. A curse on this business of being poor. For it is better to be dead than penniless. As the story goes, a beggar to the graveyard hied, and there, "Friend corpse, arise," he cried. "One moment lift my heavy weight of poverty, for I of late grow weary and desire instead your comfort. You are good and dead." The corpse was silent. He was sure 'twas better to be dead than poor. At any cost to make money. Now cash comes to men in 6 ways, and they are 1. Charity, 2. Lawsuit, 3. Another proverb relates how trade is the best means of the above, but I will spare you of it. 2 final proverbs describe the state of affairs which result in the journey of the impoverished Brahman associates. The man whose mind is money mad, from all his kinsmen flees. He hastens from his mother tongue. He breaks his promises. He even goes to foreign lands which he would not elect, and leaves his native country. Well, what else do you expect? While water is given by fate out of heaven, if men dig a well, it bubbles from hell. Man's effort, sufficiently great, can equal the wonders of fate. Terror joy. Okay. Traveling through a wood, they come upon a master magician in the form of a fish named Terror Joy. The fish asks them where they have come from and what they seek. We are pilgrims in search of power. We have resolved to go where we shall find enough money or death. So disclose to us some method of getting money, whether crawling into a hole, or placating a witch, or living in a graveyard, or selling human flesh, or anything. We have boundless daring. Now the fish, perceiving their fitness as disciples, made 4 magic quills and gave one to each, saying, "Go to the northern slope of the mountains, and wherever a quill drops, there the owner will certainly find a treasure. Copper, silver, then gold satisfy the 3 levels of desire of the first 3 associates, but the 4th is more daring, and leaving them behind, he proceeds into a region of extreme heat, and his thoughts become confused by thirst. He continues forward, and at last comes upon a man on a whirling platform, with blood dripping down his body, and a spinning wheel upon his head. The wheel leaving the head the other man and settling on his own. The asking of the question triggering the transformation. The former wheelbearer explains that in just such a manner he himself obtained the wheel in centuries past, and that apparently the god of wealth had prepared this terror so that no magician might come beyond this point by way of greed. At this point, there was no recourse to the future, but ignition, a burning in anguish, loss, and loneliness for a long time. But of course it was not the end, and after divesting himself of everything, he would be happy again, and strong and clean and alive with the universe open for him. This desire cycle, as he was coming to know it, caused doubts in his mind that he could ever have possibly been part of the steady-state world of light and God, as it was thought he had been, and supposedly fallen from. He had his doubts that it was ever any different for him than it was now, that is to say, being cyclic, or a man with a wheel on his head. He began to wonder if he could somehow resist or alter the destruction process and hold the moment of potential for a longer period. He thought of a motto for himself: desire nothing. The notion of hell, which was to be considered his domain, became his life's strength. For now. This place is supposed to be a house of God, but sometimes I think it's no different than a crazy house at a children's carnival. It makes me so sad, all that study and analysis of a person. Of him.
You mentioned reverse recordings of his voice.
Over the telephone. He doesn't even know what they're doing. I hear everything. The tolling of a large bell, plates of glass shattering into 1,000 pieces and being whirled away by the wind, a swarming of insects. And then he talks about a lake and suicides and people without bodies or people with the bodies of birds and a large glacier. Sometimes I think this place takes on the characteristics of those it serves. I start to feel...
I know. It's starting to get to me, too.
I have a phantom limb. Do you know what a phantom limb complex is? Before I turn on the light in the room, I can feel him sitting there staring at me. But when I walk out to the hall, I can still hear him breathing. Sometimes it takes hours to get away from this feeling. Sometimes I never get away from this feeling at all in my mind until I'm right back here again.
Look over there. I've never seen one of those this time of year before.
In the dark, a pair of entwined chains are unraveling to float away and form other chains of the same combination. A pair of identical and complete cells split into 4, which each again divide to make 8, and then 16, etc., by a process as miraculous as the destruction of worlds.